Hi, I'm Pastor Stephen Broden with the Senate Republican Executive Committee, Senate District 23 here in Texas. Under the guise of school safety, Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick are seeking to legislate psychiatric examination of our children without parental consent. This effort to do so is an encroachment, an intrusion on our liberties and on our rights as parents to determine who will evaluate and examine our children. The Coalition for the Protection of Parental Rights here in the state of Texas are seeking your help to stop this legislation. Barbara Harless and Alice Linahan will give us the urgency of the moment and how you can help.
SB 10 and SB 11 represent the federal merging of education and mental health in Texas. Both of these bills are a priority for our Governor, Greg Abbott, this particular legislative session. SB 10 focuses on accessing Texas's youngest children on our local public school campuses and assessing their mental health behavior in the name of preventing school violence. SB 10 creates a consortium that will be composed of totally unelected body. It will be controlled by the chairs of the Department of Psychiatry of 12 university campuses, the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, which is an agency with 60,000 employees and an $80 billion biennium budget, 3 nonprofit organizations that focus on mental health care, which will be appointed by the 12 chairs of psychiatry, and any other entity that the chairs of psychiatry deemed to be necessary. And the chairs of the university psychiatry departments will have majority control over this. Psychiatry uses medicine to solve issues. And my question is, if most mass shooters have a history of psychotic drug use, what is the potential that more drug prescriptions are going to solve mental health issues? Our schools should not be psychiatric evaluation clinics. We don't take our children to the psychiatrist to learn their ABCs and their math tables. We shouldn't be taking them to school, to the local school campus, to be mentally evaluated for behavioral health. The Texas Republican platform states basic standards. The education system should focus on basic standards, not mental health evaluations. It also says healthcare in public schools. We support parents' right to choose without penalty which medications are administered to their minor children. Currently in our public schools, the public schools are allowed to give professional medical help to parents. We don't need SB 10 and 11 to address more mental health issues on our local campuses. The opt-in and opt-out language at the beginning of the school year in those stacks of papers can be very, very confusing for parents. So opting your child in or out of a mental behavioral assessment is not really informed consent. And also these mental health assessments could be a red flag, could produce a red flag law. In other words, the child could be asked, do mommy and daddy have a firearm at home? How about Uncle Bob and Aunt Lucy? How about the next door neighbor? There's something of great concern here just beyond the mental health of the child. If a parent chooses to seek alternatives or refuse the drug treatment that is suggested by these psychiatry departments of psychiatry, Child Protective Services could very well end up on the front doorstep of this family.
There has been a transformation in education over many years, but it was put in overdrive by the Obama administration. It's that transformation in education away from reading, writing, math, and history to attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors. And if you look at the National Democrat Party platform, you'll see this laid out, this shift in the funding for it. Unfortunately, here in Texas, we have Texas Republicans who are pushing these same policies. And it's clearly seen in Senate Bill 10 and Senate Bill 11, which are on the priority list. It's interesting to note that in 2001, with No Child Left Behind, that was the beginning of a national universal database system on students. It was illegal to have a national database, so what they did is set up 50 separate database systems. In 2009, with the stimulus package, that database system was upgraded. Texas took $18+ million. Then, in 2012, the Obama administration changed the regulation on the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act to say that our children and their teachers' private data can be collected without consent in the name of education research. Then in 2014, Congress passed WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which basically binds education under the Department of Labor, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, and Department of Education. So when those federal departments send grants and federal money back to the state, we must align with the strings that they set forth. And those strings were put in place in 2015 with the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, now known as the Every Student Succeeds Act. So when those federal dollars come to the state, we must align to the Common Core College and Career Readiness behavioral standards being mandated by the federal government. Unfortunately, in 2019, Congress passed FEPA, the Foundations for Evidence-Based Policy Making. And what this does, it makes legal the interoperability of all of these agency databases, in fact, setting up a universal database system on students from preschool through the workforce. In Texas, these bills, Senate Bill 10 and Senate Bill 11, set up the infrastructure for that for those federal dollars to be used and for the behavioral data to be collected on students. This is very concerning because they've set this system in place where parents don't have the opportunity to opt out. There is no consent. And so we are standing tall against this, and we ask you to join us here in Texas to stop Senate Bill 10 and Senate Bill 11.